Hello, I'm Adrian, and today I want to talk about open string scales, specifically the type of open string scales that you hear a lot of country guitar players using, although there's no reason at all why you can't use this technique and apply it to just about any style of music that you like. It's a great sounding technique. You can use it to create these really unique sounding, cascading, chiming ideas. And what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to explain the basic concept. I'm going to take you through 3 scale patterns which I've found useful, and then in another video, which is kind of a companion video to this one, I'm going to take you through some licks and some actual musical examples. So let me bring the camera a bit closer and we can get started. Let's start with a good old C major scale then, and the pattern that I'm going to start with is just this C major scale played in the 5th position to start with no open strings. And I'm going to start on a high C and descend through the scale, and that would go like this. So it's a 2-octave descending C major scale. If you're familiar with the caged system and that way of organising the guitar fretboard, then this would be a kind of a G form of the C major scale. So that's going to be our starting point. But what we're going to do is, where possible, we're going to replace some of those notes with their open string equivalent. So if you know the names of the notes in your C major scale, then anytime you reach a note which shares its name with an open string, you can just put that open string in there instead. So let's give that a try. If we start with this C note up here, and we'll come down the scale. We've got C, B, A, G, F. Then we've got an E, and instead of playing a fretted E here at the 5th fret on the B string, we could play the same note as an open string, as the open top string. So we would have this: C, B, A, G, F, and then an open top string. And then we're going to continue down the scale. We've got D, C, the next note would be a B. But again, we can replace that with an open string. So we can go D, C, and an open B. Continue down the scale, we've got A, and then G, but let's play that G as an open string as well. So we'd have A, and then the open G string. And then on down the scale, we've got F, E, and then the next note D, again, we could play as an open string. And then we can play the final C here at the 8th fret on the low E string. So if I just slowly put all of that together, we've got this. So we've got the fretted notes C, B, A, G, F, open E, D, C, open B, A, open G, F, E, open D, and C. So that's the descending scale. We could just reverse all of that and we could go the other way up through the scale. That would look like this. So that's our basic C major scale. I just want to talk about a few ways that you can articulate the notes in this scale just to make it a little bit smoother. One of the important things here is right hand technique, and what a lot of country guys will do when they're playing in this kind of idea is they'll use a pick and fingers kind of hybrid picking technique. Actually works really well if you play the open strings with one of the fingers of your picking hand, or all of the other notes can be played with the pick. So that would look like this. I'm going to start off by picking. And that first open E string, I'm just going to pluck with the middle finger. I'm going to pull that with the middle finger of my picking hand. I'm going to pick the next 2 notes. I'm going to pull the open B string with the middle finger, then picked note, a pull note, and then we got F, E, another middle finger note, and then down to the C again. So the opposite going the other way. So that's one important sort of aspect of it, I think, the right hand picking technique. The other important thing is with the left hand, you want to try and get all of these notes ringing and chiming together. So you're going to need to have good, clean left hand technique, I think. So you probably want to be a little bit more up on the tips of fingers than is usual when you're playing your scales, just so you can let those open strings ring out. And also just holding the fingers down as long as possible, I think. Holding the fingers down until you really need to move them, and it just helps all of the notes really ring together. Until when you get to the end of the scale, you've actually got all of those open strings ringing at once. That's not really possible on the other way, but again, just try and get all of those strings ringing together where possible. And then one other thing that you could try, something that I like to do, is to add in some slurs with the left hand as well. So some hammer-ons and pull-offs, and again that just contributes to this kind of smooth cascading effect. So I might do it something like this. I would go pick, pick, pull off, another pull off here, another pull off, and the opposite on the way back with hammer-ons. Hammer, hammer, and again. And that just enables you to get a bit of speed up, and it also sounds nice and smooth as well. So. So that's our first scale. On to our next scale then, and this is a G major scale, and just going to move a little bit more quickly now. We've got the basic idea. It's exactly the same concept with the G major scale, it's just the F notes are now F sharp notes. Everything else is the same, we're just replacing any notes where possible with open strings. So the scale sounds like this. We've got so we're starting this time with a G note, that's the 8th fret on the B string, and then F sharp, and then we've got our first open string, it's an open high E string, then we've got D to C, and an open B string, then we've got a fretted A note and an open G, then we have to move up to the 9th fret on the A string for that F sharp. We've got F sharp to E, an open D, C to B on the low E string, an open A, and then we're just going to need to jump down to the 3rd fret on the low E for our final G, low G note there. So. That's our descending scale. If we go back the other way, it's just the opposite idea. So that's our G major scale. All of the same technical things apply. I think I'm using my pick for the fretted notes, middle finger of my picking hand for the open strings. I'm just trying to keep things nice and clean with my fretting hand. Incidentally, all of this will be up on my website in music and tab, so if I'm going a little bit quickly for you in this video, you might want to check that out as well. On to our final scale then, and this is an A Mixolydian scale, or A Mixolydian mode. Just to illustrate that this kind of idea doesn't just have to be applied to major scales, you can apply it to any scale you can imagine really. So that scale sounds like this. So again, exactly the same idea. This time I'm starting from the A note, 10th fret on the B string. I'm coming down the scale. So that's A, G, F sharp. Open E string there. Then I've got D, C sharp and an open B. I've got fretted A and an open G. Continuing down the scale, we've got an F sharp, E and an open D. Then we've got a C sharp to a B and finishing with an open A. So okay, you've got all of those open strings ringing together there. Again, you can play this with all picked notes, or you can add in some little pull-offs there as well, just to make it a little bit smoother, which is what I tend to do. So. And then going back the other way is just the reverse of that. That's about it for this video. Remember that on my website you'll be able to find free music and tab for everything I've talked about in this lesson. And as I said, in part 2 I'm going to be looking at some actual licks and musical examples using this open string scale concept. So you might want to check out that video as well. But until then, thanks for watching. Bye bye.